Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
We're going to be reviewing this AlphaESS BLACKBEE 1000 next on Now Let's Review. All right, so Jesse, I've grown to love this size battery.
Yes, this is the 1 kilowatt hour. So if it was so hard back in the old days when it was like, what's a kilowatt hour?
This is what it looks like.
This is it! So this stores 1 kilowatt hours worth of energy, and it can output 1,000 watts continuously, which is 1 kilowatt.
Right.
And it can do that for an hour. That's why it's called a kilowatt hour.
Exactly. It's a really cool size. It's a good form factor for a lot of uses. So what we're going to put up here on screen are some of the things you might want to do with it. For instance, a laptop. You go on some trip and you want to charge that thing, you'll be able to charge it about 15 to 20 times. A camera. Who has cameras anymore? But if you do, 150 to 200 times. A drone. Now, I think this would be excellent for drone pilots. You go out on some mission to record, you're out there all day, you got a bunch of drones, you got to keep them charged. This thing can charge 9 to 12 times. So you're gonna have a lot of drone flights with this battery. Rice cooker. So if you have a blackout or something, you wanna keep your kitchen going, a rice cooker would run for an hour and a half on this thing. A fan, like at a campsite, would run for 20 hours. A phone could be charged 60 to 80 times, and you don't just have to use the front ports for it. If you have wireless charging, it has 2 wireless charging pads. This is one of my favorite features of this battery, but the first time we were turning it on and whatever, I was like, it doesn't work.
Yeah, because you put your phone on there.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's not charging, it doesn't work. Well, yeah, that's because you actually have to turn on the DC system.
Yeah, so, and then I thought it was broken because like you held the button, you have to hit it 3 times to turn it on, then the blue light shows that it should be working, which it is, and both of our phones are charging. Having 2 ports, like I was like, oh, 1 pad is fine. But as soon as you put 1 phone on it, someone inevitably comes over and goes, can I charge 2? Yes, you can. That's
so it's a really nice little nifty feature. Also, another nifty feature of this battery is, I don't know if you can, looks like we're in Pulp Fiction here, but if you can see there, we got a very, very bright light.
Yeah, it's got 3 levels of brightness.
Yep. You can also set it for SOS mode.
Yeah, this is great by the side of the road. So if you have this in the back of the car and you have some kind of motoring problem, put this out by the side of the road and it'll help you to just stay very visible.
By the way, this only uses 3 watts, so this will last a very, very long time. And that kind of gets into my favorite use case of this battery, and that is
weightlifting.
And that is as a work tool. We actually used this the other day. We needed to shut off our entire sub panel to a whole section of the house and then drill a hole right underneath the sub panel. And we went, okay, how do you do that? First of all, we have our light source so that we can see what we're working on. And then we were able to plug in a very powerful drill, and we were able to drill right through the wall of the house.
I think that electricians, this should be a tool in your tool chest, because I can't tell you how many times we do exactly what Jesse just said. You shut off some circuit, probably to work on a light, and then you have no light.
You go to use the tool and you go, ah, crap.
Right. So you've got your light and your power all making everything work. For any contractor, I mean, I've been a contractor for years, and I can't tell you how many times you're working on something like outside of a house where there's no outlet, or in a basement where there's no readily available outlet. You bring this with you, you got your power source, you can power up your radio, and that's the thing, there's a lot of nice outputs here. There's 3 AC outputs, then you've got a whole bunch of USB outputs. So you got 2 USB A's, you got 2 USB C's, and then you've even got some DC outputs. The other thing I want to talk about is, if you are a contractor, you're probably thinking, yeah, but then at the end of the day, I got to bring it all the way back into my house or garage and plug it in to charge. Well, you could charge it in your truck or car, because here is the 12-volt input, and so you could plug that into the carport in your car with the included adapter, and so you can be charging this up from even just an old-fashioned ice car
with a cigarette lighter.
With a cigarette lighter. So that's pretty cool. So the downside of this is that when you're charging it, you're going to have to use this wall wart. And I'm not a big fan of wall warts if you can avoid them, because 2 reasons. One is I lose them all the time if I don't label them and keep them safe.
Because this looks like, is that my laptop charger? Is that my e-bike charger?
Right.
Is that thing that needs to charge my other thing? And if you put this in a drawer somewhere unlabeled, you're never going to be able to find it again. And this is the like one thing that is going to actually be able to charge this up.
Right. So a lot of other batteries like this will have 110 input, which even if you lose that cable, they're ubiquitous. You can find them anywhere. This, do not lose this. The other part I don't like about this is that it can only charge at 180 watts. Unlike other ones that we've had and we've reviewed where you can charge up to 1,000 watts, which means that they charge really fast, this is going to be about 5 times slower to charge, so probably be thinking overnight to charge this back up to 100%. Now, for most people that's probably fine, but if it's the kind of thing where you just, oh, I forgot to charge it up, it's only at 20%, I'd like to quickly charge it, bring it to my friend's house, you're not going to be able to do it that fast.
Yeah, I mean, but the trade-off would be price and weight.
Yeah, we're putting up the current price right down here because the prices do fluctuate quite a bit.
But if you wanted a battery pack with the same capacity and you wanted it to charge faster, that means you need a bigger, more powerful charger in there. And that means that it's going to be more expensive and it's going to weigh more. And I have to say that while this is not the lightest thing in the world, it's very heftable.
22.5 pounds, 10.2 kilograms.
And so while you don't want to be carrying that everywhere, carrying it up a flight of stairs is not going to kill you. Being able to shove it into your trunk of your car, all of the sort of things that getting, say, like a bike into would be a lot harder. The size and weight of this are very, very nice.
Yeah, so it's powered by lithium-ion batteries, and I just want to point out these aren't lithium phosphate batteries. Lithium phosphate is less energy dense, but a lot safer. So that should be another consideration that you think about. You get the lighterness, but is lighterness a word? No. But you also don't get the safety factor. So you don't want to get this thing too wet. You don't want to get it too hot. You don't want to pierce it, anything like that. All right, so one thing I do like about this is that it's got this integrated handle. And so it is, there we go. You can lift it up and you can put it back, which means that you got all this space taken back. Whereas on like the Jackery battery, this is a pre-molded handle, and so it stays in one place, and that means you've kind of thrown away that space when you're putting it in the trunk of a car.
It comes with this little rubber thing underneath, which makes for a nice, comfortable lift. However, at some point, somebody had either accidentally or intentionally peeled off the rubber and stuck it in the wrong spot. So we were very confused as to the design of it. So just keep it, try and keep that the rubber part in place. It's pretty uncomfortable. They have a little recess and it could cut into your hands if you lose it, but I mean, that's not really the fault of ESS.
Tell me about the plastic build. I feel like it's well built. Yeah. Is that how you test things?
It's fine. Yeah, the front and everything, it feels pretty good. The bottom actually feels a whole lot better. It's gonna be okay. I wouldn't consider having this be underneath a whole bunch of very heavy metal things. I would say it's probably fine if you're packing a car full of luggage and clothes and stuff like that. But if you're putting this in the back of a pickup truck and you're going to cover it with a bunch of 2x4s and wood and metal and nails, probably not. It's not impervious to being hurt.
So I want to talk about fans. I'm talking about the fans that are built into this to cool it. You don't think of that when you're buying a battery, but I want to point out some use cases. If you're using this in a tent situation, like going camping, and this is going to be maybe inside your tent or your camper, and you're going to want to watch your TV or movie or something, there are fans, and as you're drawing more and more power, if it gets to some point, usually around 200 or 300 watts, the fans kick on. And so I just want you to be aware of that. It's common with all these batteries.
So that would mean, you've plugged in, maybe a laptop, maybe a second laptop, and you're charging a couple phones, you're probably approaching that level where the fans are going to kick on. And so, if you're enjoying the peace and quiet of nature, and then all of a sudden it's like, woo, you're going to be like,
right.
Oh, man.
But the good part is that when you go to charge it, because it's drawing so little power, the fans don't usually kick on. I haven't heard them kick on, and so it stays very quiet as you're charging it, which could be a nice feature as well. So let's talk about the dimensions, 342 by 264 by 254 millimeters. It comes with a 2-year warranty, and you can charge this with solar as well. And so on the front, it has what's called an MPPT inside. So if you want to get the solar panels that you can buy separately with AlphaESS, you could charge this with solar. It's got all the kind of circuitry in there to know what to do with the solar panels, and that's really cool. And I don't think you would want to do this, but you could do it with this unit. It can handle 12 devices simultaneously. So you can plug all 12 things in the front and it will run them all at the same time. So it runs, as Jesse said earlier, 1,000 watts continuous, but 2,000 watts peak. And why is that important?
So I think a lot of people think that like, oh, I could run, 2 1,000 watt hair dryers. No. Peak does not mean the maximum. It just means for like a split second.
Right.
And that split second is usually going to be kicking on a motor of some kind. So if you have like a refrigerator, like a really beefy, powerful one that, consumes 1,000 watts, it probably is gonna need like 2,000 watts to kick on. Weaker power supplies would not be able to supply that 2,000 instantaneous load, and they wouldn't be able to make that thing work, even though the continuous draw of that unit would only be, 1,000 watts.
A lot of people have asked in the comments about cycle life. They're like, well, how long will this last? It has what they claim is 1,000 cycle life, and that means after 1,000 cycles, it'll be down to 80% of its full state of charge. It's still usable, but it won't give you the 1,000 watt hours. It'll give you more like 800 watt hours. So still can use it. And so that's kind of the question for you guys. How often are you going to use it? If you use it basically once a week for an entire year, you're nowhere near approaching your cycle life. You could use this thing for about 12 years.
And I mean, all of these numbers are not a big surprise. This is lithium-ion battery technology. It's the same thing that's going to go on in your phones. It's the same thing that's going to go on in your Tesla or other electric car. That's just what you're going to get with lithium-ion batteries. So if you're used to that with your phone or your laptop, that's kind of what you're going to be expecting with this. It's not going to last forever.
But if you want something that can charge up to 100% over and over again and maybe have a little bit longer cycle life, you might want to look for an LFP battery instead of the lithium-ion battery. Just kind of food for thought. All right, so now it's time for pros and cons, and I got to tell you, I love the lights. I love the wireless charging on the front. And I think that the form factor and the amount of power that you get out of this is great for most uses. It's not, look, if you're gonna have a lot of blackouts and brownouts and you're gonna be like, I'm gonna plug my whole kitchen into this, the toaster and the microwave and the fridge. No, that's not what it's gonna handle for you. You're gonna have to go with a way bigger battery. But if this is to just kind of keep you going through a blackout, then this could be good. Or if this is for like we said, a drone pilot or a contractor, this is perfect.
I would say that this is sort of like the equivalent of the wind-up radio flashlights that you used to get. I mean, still have those for sure, but this is, going to give you more of the comforts that you want. This is going to keep your laptop charged. This is going to keep your phone charged in the case of a blackout for possibly, multiple days. It's not going to be running your refrigerator, your kitchen, like you're saying, but it is going to give you that, like, my phone is working, my laptop is working functionality, and most of the other rest of the time, you can use it for all sorts of applications. I love that it is so usable with everything else that you have in your life.
So link down below to finding the AlphaESS. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below so that we can get your questions answered and let us know what kind of things you want us to review in the future, because that's what this channel is all about. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe and like buttons. We'll see you next time. Now let's review.